You're listening to the Get Out of Your Own Damn Way podcast, episode number 107.
You change your mind, your sheets, and hopefully your underwear. But what about changing your life? This week, we get to the fun part. What about your life do you want to change? Welcome to the Get Out of Your Own Damn Way podcast. I'm your host, Krylyn Peters. Each week, I bring you inspiring messages to help you create the life you're meant to lead. Buckle up, buttercups. Hey, buttercups. Welcome back to the podcast. I am Krylyn, and I am super excited because today we are diving into a new direction in this change series. So if you haven't joined me for the last 3 episodes, know that I kicked off a series about change, starting with the myths about change, and then I headed over to talk about the truths about change, and then last week talked about what to do with the inevitable discomfort that comes along with making any change, no matter how welcome that change is. And as promised, today I'm going to start to really dive into what in the heck are we going to change? So I know there's so many aspects to our lives. There are typically some things that I see when people come to me for help that they want to work on. And there's actually 3 things that are, I'd say, the top 3 things that people come to me wanting help with. The first one is, well, actually, do you have any guesses? Oh, I'm curious. But the first one is health. And I don't know if that's number 1, but it's certainly in the top 3. So health is definitely one of the things that people like to change and to work on. And it could be their physical health, it could be their emotional health, and just encompasses a lot of different things. So that's one of the things that I see. Another thing that people really want to change are relationships. Okay, so these could be intimate relationships, it could be family relationships, it could be friendships, but it kind of encompasses this whole idea of relationships and setting boundaries and all sorts of stuff, dealing with conflict, improving communication, being able to talk about what needs are not getting met and work through stuff to make either improvements in relationships, to either get a relationship or to end a relationship. And those are kind of the 3 things that I see when people come to me for help with their relationships. And then the third area of life that people come to me most often with, it has to do with their job or their career. So I typically attract people who are in the healing professions, coaches, therapists, authors, speakers, healers, and a lot of times people are either working in a full-time job trying to start a business, or they just really want to dive into being their own boss. So those are the 3 top things that I see people coming to me for help with. However, there's so many more aspects to our lives that are not necessarily what people seek help with initially, but ends up having this kind of a snowball effect. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the different areas that you might want to change. And also, just a reminder, I already forgot, but just a reminder that I do have a handout that goes with this episode where I'm going to go through all the different areas of change. There's 12 of them. And also some questions that you can ask yourself to help get a better idea of where you're going to focus on. So you can download that handout at krylyn.com/107. That's KRYLYN.com/107. So I've revealed those top 3 things that people want to change. And I want you to understand this is something that I love to talk about when it comes to change. And I was just having conversations online with people about this, I think just yesterday, as I was preparing for this episode. A lot of us are taught to tackle several things at one time. Our society is all about this multitasking, mentality that I think is such a detriment. And this isn't exactly what I had planned on talking about. However, it's coming up because it's so prevalent that we tend to want to focus on so many things, or we identify that we are dissatisfied in several areas of our life. And it happens, we have things that come up and we're like, oh, I'm not really happy with this job. I'm not really happy with this relationship. I really want to change my money situation, whatever it is. And so then it just becomes this big snowball effect of, oh my gosh, there's just so much. And where the heck do I even start? And I'm going to go more into how to figure out where to start in next week's episode. But I wanted to start the conversation today because we're going to start working on this today. So you ready? I'm going to just lay the truth down here right now. Truth bomb. You cannot focus on more than one thing at a time. I know that society says that you can. I know that you think you can. You think you can watch television and play on your phone and have a conversation with someone all at the same time. You just can't. You're not able to give your full attention. And there's a lot of research out there that tells us that no, in fact, we cannot multitask. It is impossible for our brains to work that way. So I want you to start, this is like my new word and I want it to spread like wildfire. So hashtag monotask. Okay, I want you to focus on one thing at a time, just one. And what I'm going to tell you about focusing in on one thing at a time is that it's going to keep you more in a good space to be able to make really significant changes. I'm not saying that there are not more than one thing, there's not more than one area in your life that you want to change. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that you shouldn't change more than one area of your life. However, trying to do everything at one time is setting yourself up for failure. And I may be kind of unpopular in my opinion here. However, I'm just laying it all out there because this is what I truly believe. And I'm saying this because I am someone who historically does things big and does things in multiples. So I know from my own experience that it's harder. It's harder to try and tackle more than one thing at a time. It distracts your energy. It pulls your energy from focusing in on the details. So an overview, you can certainly focus on the overall aspects of different areas of your life. Obviously, we do it every day, right? We don't live in a vacuum where we can only focus on one thing at a time. I do realize that. However, when you're talking about change and when you're talking about significant change, making really big decisions, making changes that are going to impact everything in your life, then you really want to focus in on just one thing at a time. The good thing about that, in just the monotask aspect of going through a change, is that you will be able to reap the rewards 10 times over. The process of change is the same no matter what change you're going through, okay? It's identifying a goal. It is figuring out the steps to achieve that goal. It's finding the support and resources you need for that goal. And then it's implementing the steps and taking the action towards reaching that goal. That's the same for any process of change that you're going to go through. So if you can focus in on just one area to change and go through that process, what's going to happen is it's going to make it easier for the next change. Okay. And so focusing in on just starting in one area is really going to help you in making successive changes and to be more successful in those changes when you have the time and the energy to focus in on them. So starting a diet on Monday, putting up your online dating profile Monday night, and trying to start a new class, let's say, Tuesday morning, all within a 24-hour period, I would not recommend doing all of those things at one time. You want to focus in on one. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go through the 12 areas of your life that you can change. And certainly there might be more, but these are the 12 that I often work with my clients. This is actually one of the first things I do before we even have our first coaching session. Is I give them this piece of paper, a few pieces of paper actually, so that they can kind of figure out what areas they really want to focus on, and we go through some ratings and just kind of a process of figuring out what is most important, what things that they want to focus on. So I'm going to share those 12 areas with you right now. And again, they are on the handout. So go ahead and download that, and you don't have to worry about writing anything down right now. So I'm going to go through them relatively quickly. I don't think they really need a ton of explanation. However, here we go. So family, friends, physical health and well-being, emotional health and well-being. So though I separate those out because they are different, even though they impact each other. The fifth is physical environment, then finances, spirituality and religion, education and personal growth, fun and leisure, lifestyle, career, and significant other. Those are the 12 areas that I like to focus on. So when I first started, I was talking about people. One of the things that people come to me for help with is relationships. So in this list, I kind of pull apart the different types of relationships. So there's the significant other, there's the friends, and then there's also families, because those sometimes need some different kinds of TLC in order to be successful. So I want you to just think about all of those 12 things and what comes up for you now. So next week, I'm actually going to take you through a formula that I developed to help you figure out what one area to start with. Because here's what I know. We get overwhelmed. And when we're overwhelmed, it's very difficult to make decisions. It's difficult to prioritize and figure out what needs my attention right now. Because as I said, that list of 12 things, I'm guessing that you're thinking, oh yeah, well, yes, I want to change that and this and that and this and that. And that's great. It's great to have goals. However, you don't want to stress yourself out and tax all your resources and energy by trying to focus on everything at one time. And I'm here to help you relieve some of that overwhelm, take some of the guessing and the second guessing out of where the frick do I start, and get you on the path to making some true and lasting changes in your life. So for now, all I want you to do is identify 3 areas, just three areas that you might want to focus on. Okay. And that's just from hearing this list of 12 that I mentioned. Of course, you can download the handouts so you don't have to try and remember them all. And just realize, what are the ones that are coming up for you? What are the things that you're being reminded of? What signs are you getting? What are you talking about with your friends and your family? Like what are the topics that are coming up when you're going, maybe this is something that I could focus on right now. So that's all I want you to do for this week. Join me next week where I'm going to take you through a formula to help you figure out which one area of your life to focus on changing first. See you then.
Thanks for listening to the Get Out of Your Own Damn Way podcast. If you've been inspired, please share the podcast with your friends. You can find us on iTunes or at Krylyn.com. KRYLYN.com.